Hello. This is a demonstration video for the Auto File Organizer program. This program is designed to automate file movements based on rules you set. It's a very easy and straightforward process. I will go through the options in this video and show you a couple of examples and go through them one by one. This is the program. As you can see, when you open it, you have three options in here: Profiles, Default Folders, and Preferences. And then down here you have the Stop and Start option. After you set everything, you can press Start, and then the program will start working. You also have an option down here called Start when the program starts. This is a good option if you want to add this program to your computer's startup programs list. Therefore, every time you restart your computer, the program will start with your computer. And when the program starts, and you have this box checked, it will automatically start monitoring the folders, making all the movements, and running all the rules you set. Okay. Let's talk about how this program works. To get started, you'll need to set up a few necessary folders for the program. To do that, you have to click on Default Folders. When using the program for the first time, this is the first thing that you have to set. I created this test folder here, and inside I created Auto File Organizer main folder. I'm going to click on the default folder and drag this folder here to define and save it. Now, this is going to be the program's main folder. As we move forward, I will explain about it through the process. This option is enabled by default, and you don't have to do anything. But if you want to set them based on your needs in a specific way, you can uncheck this box here and set them up. So what is this option for? It's going to create 4 folders inside the main folder here. Done, Excluded Files, Folder does not exist, and Not Defined Files. So it's going to create those 4 folders, and later on, I'm going to go through them and explain what they are for. Right now, there are no folders in here. After saving this setting, once I click on Start, it's going to create them. Here you go. It created the 4 folders for us as I mentioned here. Obviously they are empty right now, but we will see their usage soon. As mentioned, you will need to set up the default folders, and that's the first thing that you need to do. Otherwise, the program will not work. The third option you have in here is the Preferences. You have 2 settings here. First option is for, what would you like to do if file or the folder exists in the destination folder? Rename is the default value, and you can change it if you want. This is where you set your desired options as the default for the existing files. Of course, you will always have the option to change them whenever you need to, but this will set the default value. So what would you like to do if the file you're trying to move does exist in the destination folder? The options you have are, skip and move it to the Done folder, overwrite, and rename. I selected the rename option for this example. If a file with the same name exists, it will add copy 1, 2, 3, and so on, to the end of the files. The second option you have here is whether to keep the application running in the background. So if this option is checked, and you close the program will still run in the background, and you can see it in the taskbar. You can right-click and choose Quit or Reopen. But if I uncheck this option and save, now when I close the program, I am basically closing the whole program, and it will completely stop working. It will not run in the background anymore. That is the purpose of that setting in there. Now let's go through the profiles, after setting up the default folders and preferences. I'll first show you some simple tasks and then some advanced features. Let's start creating some simple tasks, so you can get an idea how the program works, and what is it for. You have this option to create profiles here. Let's say, if you have a set of different rules, and you don't want to mix them together, and also, you want to be able to enable or disable them, based on your needs. That is what the profile option is for. To create a profile, click on Add New Profile. For this example, let's call it Profile 1. And then later on, you can enable or disable it from here, or you can delete it if you want. Here you have Rename and again Delete options. Managing profiles, let's click on Manage. As you can see, you have 5 options here: Main folders, Source folder, Rules, Destination folder, and Manage automation. The main folder basically refers to the default folders option that we discussed. If you ever want to use different folders for your profiles, profile number 1 in this example, you can simply define different ones just for this profile. This allows you to customize folders for any profile without changing the default settings we've already set up. But if you leave it as is, it's going to take the settings that you set up in the default folders section. By default, those settings will apply to all the profiles. The second option is the source folder. Let's go to our folder. This is our source folder. If I click on View right now, nothing appears because we haven't set up anything yet. I'm going to click on New. And then drag this here and give it a name. Maybe the folder you're trying to set has a long or a complex name, and you want to use more user-friendly names for it. So I'm just going to type source in here for now. In this section, you can set how often the program checks the source folder for new files. It'll keep an eye on that folder, and whenever new files arrive, it'll follow the rules you've set and act accordingly. So you have that option in here. It cannot be set for 1 or 3 seconds. The minimum time is 5 seconds. If you do that, it will give you an error. It must be at least 5 seconds. Okay, let's set it to 5 seconds. You also have an option to set it in minutes or hours, so you can set it to any time you need, but remember, the minimum is 5 seconds. Now let's click on Create. There is also a bulk mode option in here, which I will explain that later. Right now, we are setting this in single mode, so you can understand how the program works better. The third option here is the rules. This is where you set the rules. Let's click on New. Over here you give the rule a name. If you don't have specific keywords for your search and want this rule to apply to any file, you can simply leave the keyword field blank and check the Anything box here. That way, any file that comes to your source folder in here will be moved to the destination folder. You have another option here called Exact Match. Let's say you're searching for specific keywords. And you want to find files that contain only those words, not mixed with anything else. Let me open my notepad and show you an example. For example, imagine your keyword is 10. Now if you don't have exact match option box checked, then all of these values here are correct, for example, tent or tenant. They all contain the word 10 in them. But if you enable the exact match option, then it's going to only look for the word 10 and nothing else. So if you have 10, then space and something else in here, for example, something else. The space separates the 10 with other words. And we are only looking for 10, not tent or tenant. But without the exact match enabled, that's not going to apply. Then, all of these values in here are true, and that's the concept of the exact match. Okay, now let's test this with some examples. Let me go to this test files folder. I have a couple of test files here. Let's name this rule Apple. And enable exact match. And then over here, you input the keywords that you want the program to look for. Note that the keywords are not case sensitive. So the file can be in capital letters, and in the keyword section, you can enter all lowercase. It will work fine. And keywords must be one word only. After typing your keyword, click on Add, and then you can add another keyword if you need to. For example, let's add test. Click Add again and then it shows here. And if you want to delete it, click on the X and delete. So that's how to add and remove keywords. You have another option called exclude option here. For example, we have this Apple file in this folder. We also have Big Apple and Red Apple. So let's say for this example, we want to exclude the big. Type big here and click on Add. Let's review now. I'm looking for files that contain Apple, but not if they contain the word big in them. The next option is for the task. What do you want to do after finding these files? You have move, copy, and delete options. Let's say we want to move them. Over here, you have the folder settings again. This is the rename option for the existing files that I showed you earlier. Then we have the default folders, in case you want to change it for this rule. And the program's main folders. You have the option to change it for this rule in here. But if you set all these up in the main settings, whatever setting you set in there, which was rename in this case, it will apply to everything by default. On the side note, the source folder must be empty all the time. That's because if you have hundreds of files sitting in the source folder and there are no rules for them, or let's say you set your task to copy instead of move, then the original files will remain in the source folder forever. After a while, the files will pile up in your source folder, slowing down the program. That's why the source folder must be empty all the time. If you see a file sitting here and nothing happening, it means that something is wrong. Maybe it's a permission issue. Or it was set on a network shared drive, and that drive is not accessible right now. You can always go and check it and see what's wrong with it. If necessary, move the files out of the source folder manually until you troubleshoot the issue. Restarting the program will also help. Just exit and close it completely, make sure it's not running in the background, and then reopen it. Okay, let's continue with our example here. So we added Apple, and we excluded anything that has the word big in it. And then if you choose copy for the task, it will copy the files to the destination folder. Notice there is a note here that says, the original file is moved to the done folder. It means when you set the task to copy, after the copying process is complete, the original files will be moved to the done folder from the source folder. So those folders that we set in the default folders section were for this purpose. And here is where we set our done folder to be. But if you choose the move task, then that's it. The files are going to move, and they will disappear from the source folder. So in this example, I'm just going to set the move option for our task. There is also an option for renaming the files. Let me go back to my files folder and show you how it works. So we have Big Apple, which we exclude the big, and we have Red Apple here. Now in the rename section, which you must enable it first to use it. You have these options. Add before text, after text, replace text, or change it to a completely new name. So let's say, in this example, I need to replace the word red with blue. And if the file already exists, you can choose what to do here. I will set it to rename. Okay, so we named our rule Apple and set it to an exact match. We are looking for file names that contain Apple and excluding anything that contains big. We set our task option to move, and we also renaming the files. The rule is, find red, and replace it with blue. This program has one cool option, it checks the file size every 3, 5, 7, or 10 seconds, depending on your selection. The lowest is 3 seconds. So, it is constantly checking the file size. This could be a folder where you're dropping the files through the network, and a large file is copied. You don't want to move the incomplete files. So, it checks the file size every 3 seconds and compares it. If the size changes, that means the copying process is still in progress, but if it isn't, then the copying is done, and the file is ready to be moved. It's kind of like protection for when the files are still being copied, especially the big files, and it's not done yet. This option assures that the file is ready to be moved. Okay, as far as setting up the rules, this was everything. As you can notice, I have a file named banana in my folder, but I did not set any rules for it, and I will show you why. So we created our first rule. You can always go back in view. You can delete it if you want. If you click on Edit, you will return to the Rule section and be able to edit it. Also, if you have multiple rules in the list, you have the ability to sort them. So let's go to the next step. Now, let's set the destination folder. This is our destination folder. Let's drag it here and then I'm going to name it destination. Now, over here, we have 3 options. Create it, else, use folder does not exist folder. Delete match files, and use folder does not exist. Right now, our destination folder is empty, and in the destination folder path, I am going to set it to move the files into an Apple folder, inside our destination folder. But notice that there's no Apple folder in here. These options here are for that purpose. So, if you select the first option, the Create It, Else, Use Folder Does Not Exist folder option, it will try to create that folder in the destination folder for you. But if the program cannot create the Apple folder inside our destination folder for any reason, then the file will be moved to the folder does not exist folder inside the main folder. This is why you must set the main folder first before setting up anything. The second option is to delete match files. So if there's no folder, then delete the files. The third option does not even try to create the folders. If a folder does not exist, move it to the folder does not exist directly. Later, you can come and check them and decide what you want to do. But for now, I will go with the first option, Create It, Else, Use Folder Does Not Exist folder, and click on Create. Okay, we have set everything necessary to make this happen. The program's main folder, source folder, rules, and destination folder. Now, it's time to link all these to each other in the Manage Automation section. You can create 10 different source files, different rules, and different destination folders separately. Then, in the last step, Manage Automation, you can link and connect them together and create your workflow. So which source folder you want to add to this automation? Right now we only have one. Also you can double-click on the name to add it. That was our source folder. Next, what's the rule? The rule name is Apple. And the destination folder, and that is our destination folder. Notice it's active. We also have the option to schedule, start date. But first, you have to disable it, and then you can set it to what you want. The default value is all day, forever. You can change its runtime from this time to this time. You may want this program to monitor that folder only at certain times, or you may want to set up a stop date or start date. If not, everything is set to all the time. Let's enable it again. We have another option here. Let's say your source and the destination folders are the same. You want to set a different rule. So you click on duplicate here, and it will copy that rule for you. Then, you click on the rule or on any other option you want, and set a different one. If you have more rules, they will show here. You also have the option to sort, then you choose the rule, and it will set it here. Right now, these two are the same. So, I'm going to delete the second one. To do that, first, you have to disable it, and then delete it. If you want to add another automation, click Add and keep doing the same. You can select multiple and delete if you want to delete multiple or all. So, we linked all the settings together. Monitor this folder, apply this rules, and move it to this folder. Now we have our first automation created and ready to go. Let's check and make sure it is enabled. This is our profile number 1. Okay, it is enabled. Now let's go back to home again and check if the program is running. And yes, it is already started. Okay, let's go and test it. Notice that it was still running in the taskbar when I closed it. It did not completely close the program. If you remember, that's because that's how I set it to run in the background earlier. Let's go and grab our test files. I'm going to copy them into our source folder. Let's see what's going to happen. Okay, notice it created this folder here. There was no folder in here, and it just created this Apple folder. Let's open it. Yes, we have the Apple, and then we have the Blue Apple files. But I didn't have Blue Apple before. Let's go and double check my files. So I had Apple, Banana, Big Apple, and Red Apple. In the destination, I only have Apple and Blue Apple. There's no Red Apple, Big Apple, and there's no Banana. Let's see where they are. If we go to the main folder, our Done folder is empty. Let's open the excluded folder. Okay, I can see the Big Apple file in here. As you can see, we set this rule to exclude the word big. It's also showing up here. So we said, look for Apple, and if the file contains the word big, exclude it. Then, we had an option to rename Red to Blue. And that is exactly what it did. That is why we have this Blue Apple file now. And then, if you remember, we had one more file, the Banana. Let's see where that is. We have a folder here called Not Defined. Because we don't have any rules set for Banana, therefore it was moved to the Not Defined folder. So, anytime there's a file you don't have any defined rules for, it will move it into the Not Defined folder. If the destination folder does not exist or can't create it, then it's going to move to the Does Not Exist folder. If you exclude something in the rule, it will move to the excluded folder. And if you choose the copy action for your task, it will move the original files into the Done folder after the copying process to the destination folder is completed. These are the usages of all those folders we had here, which we set up in the beginning for the program to work. That's pretty much it for the functioning, what it does, and what it is for. You can also add different profiles, profile number 2, for example, and then set your settings, that's what I'm going to do right now. Also, you have the option to go back and enable or disable them. For example, let's say you don't need this profile for now, so you can disable it. Now I'm going to show you an example of bulk mode and how it works. Let's say you have hundreds of files. Let me go back here, and as you can see, the source folder is always empty. I'm going to delete this Apple folder here because we're going to do another test. Okay, we have 200 files here. They all have Apple in them and incremental numbers from 1 to 200. So we have 200 files, and we want to set up automations so that each one will go to its corresponding folders. But to go and actually set them up one by one, that's going to take a lot of time, and that's where the bulk mode becomes handy. Let me check the profile. We are on the profile number 2. Let me disable it for now. I'll enable it once it's done. So, let's click on the Manage Main Folders. It uses the default values, which are these values. Next, the source folder. This is our source, and we want to set it to check every 5 seconds. You always have the option to click on View, check everything, and edit if necessary. Next, number 3, the rules. We click on the new. I'm not going with single mode method this time, because setting up 200 rules, one by one, it's not efficient. So how can we do that? We have an option available here called bulk mode, which you can add your rule name here. Let's name it Apple 1, and for the keyword, we say look for Apple. In the next column, we enter number 1. Make sure for the files like this, that you have a space like this one. We have Apple, space, dash, space, and then a number. Each word goes to a separate column. You cannot put all the words in one column. So we type Apple in the first column and number 1 in the next column. The following rule will be for Apple 2, and we enter all similarly. This is one way of doing it. Again, we have all the same options down here: move, exact match, and size checking time. But there's another way of doing this. Let me delete these. You can also add as many rows as you want here and delete them all at once. And if you click here, you can go back to the single mode anytime. Okay, back to the bulk mode again. I just went over one of our options, which was to add multiple rows in here. In addition to that, you have another option to add from a file. Now let's see how that works. You can add them using a CSV files. Let's open this one that I created and see how this works. Note that the rule name is in the first column. And then you have 5 keyword options in 5 different columns. Your CSV file should also follow the same format as it is in here. The first column is for the name. The next 5 columns are for the keywords, and they go all the way from 1 to 200. This is the rule name, and the next 2 columns are our 2 keywords. Apple 1, Apple 2, Apple 3, all the way to Apple 200. So this is how you should create your CSV files. Now let's return to the program and click on Add from a file, then add our CSV file. Okay. Here's the file I made for the rules. Let's double-click on it and add it. Beautiful! We just import 200 different rules in a matter of seconds. These are the info, which all came from our CSV file. Apple 1, all the way to Apple 200. One important note, make sure you check the exact match for these kinds of cases. And why? Because, if you don't check the exact match option, then Apple 1, Apple 10, Apple 11, Apple 12, Apple 13, all of these, it's going to return true for this search. Because they all share the Apple 1 word in them. This is 10 for example, but it does have the Apple 1 in it. But if you check the exact match, that means you are only looking for Apple 1 and you're not looking for 10, 11, 12 or 100s. Because all these have the number 1 in them. Therefore, you check the exact match to avoid that. Next. What do you want to do with them? Let's say we want to move them. Keep in mind, if you choose Copy, after copying to the destination, it will move the original files to the Done folder. So that's for the rules. Checking the size every 3 seconds is fine. Click on Create and Done. You can go back anytime you want and view or edit the rules. Number 4. Destination folders. Let's browse to our CSV files again. Open our destination file, the same rules apply. You have the name in the first column, Apple 1, all the way to Apple 200, and the destination folder path. For those who don't know, making this is very easy. Let me show you real quick. So let's copy the Apple 1 here, and then drag it down 200 rows. That's Apple 1 to 200. And for the destination path, you can copy it from the folder and paste it here, and add the desired folder name to the end. Like this. And boom! You just created a CSV file with 200 lines of information in it. But right now, I will delete this because we already have one in here. Oh, see, I just found an error. So this should be / then Apple-1. This is a good practice, so you can see all the possible errors. Okay. Now, let's save this. So I set the paths into the destination folder. Right now the folder is empty, but because I have this created option selected here, I don't have to create those folders one by one. The program will try to create them for me. So let's add this destination CSV file into the program. Again, if you want to make 1 or 2, you can do it in the single mode, but you also have the bulk mode option for multiple entries. The same rule applies here, folder name and destination folder path. Whatever format is in here. That's how your CSV file should be. The first column is for the folder name, and the second column is for the destination folder path. Again, the same thing, you can add rows in here, one by one, and set them that way. Or you can click on Add from a file. Boom! We just added all those information from the CSV file here, instead of doing it one by one, with the same options down here. Any option you choose here, it's going to apply to all these entries. Okay, let's leave this on Created option, and let the program create the folder. And then, the last step, Manage Automation. In the Manage Automation, you will add them based on their names. Which means whatever name you gave to them when you created them. Such as the rule name or the destination folder name. And again, you have the option of doing it one by one, or from a file. I just imported them, and they are all automatically active. This is our automation CSV file. The first column is the source name, next is the rule name, and the third is the destination name. I see some extras in here. Probably, that's because I have extra values in my file. Let's double check. Yes, we have 240 rows in here, but we need only 200. So I'm just going to delete that, save it, go back here, delete everything, and add it again. But this time, there were only 200, and nothing extra. Yes, we're good. All right. So everything is set. Now let's go back to the home and enable this profile. The program is also already on start mode. Now let's see the magic happen. I am just going to copy all these files, 200 files, and then paste them into our source folder. As you can see, when I pasted it, it started creating the folders in the destination. And that's it, done. They are all gone. So, if I open each one of these folders, you will see the correct files in their corresponding folders, as we defined in our rules. Now, let me try something different. For example, let's copy Apple 1 again and see what happens. Here you go. If that file exists, and you set it to rename, it will rename it and add it to the folder. Let's try this now. Let's go to the Apple 1 rule and edit it. Let's say, for this one, we want to copy instead of move and save it. OK. Let me go back. It also shows here, under the task. The task for this rule is set to copy. Let's copy this file to our source folder again. OK, so we have copy number 2 in here, but notice the file is gone even though we chose a copy for the task. Now what happens here? There you go. After copying, it moved the original file into the Done folder. This can also act like backing up the files. You can also start and stop the program from running here. So this is how you can automate your process with our Auto File Organizer program and automatically organize thousands of files every day. Like this. Very nice and organized. This will wrap up our video on the functionality and how the Auto File Organizer program, as its name suggests, works. Thank you for watching.